Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to do a new AR-10 buyers video. Okay, so I've already done a lot of AR-10 buyers videos. One of the things I've said is don't consider buying an AR-10 until you already own several AR-15s. Okay, everything about an AR-10 is a lot more expensive. So basically do as much shooting as you can, become proficient with AR rifles on the cheaper AR-15s, also on AR-9s, okay? But once you've got like several AR-15s, several AR-9s, several Glocks, yeah, getting an AR-10 is a lot of fun, okay? If you're shopping around for a new AR-10, okay, that basically shoots 308 or 7.62 by 5.1, and just so you guys know, a gun that's chambered in 308 will shoot either caliber. Okay, so you want your barrel to be in 308. So the main thing that you need to be looking for when you're shopping for an AR-10 is a highly adjustable gas system. Okay, it has to be very adjustable, and 4 positions or 5 positions is not enough. Okay. And I'm going to show you guys why. Now, first of all, before we get into the why, you gotta understand, which I'm sure most of you do, how the how the gun works. Okay, so with the AR style guns, they're gas operated. So when the bullet gets past a certain point, there's a hole in the barrel. The gas comes out the hole and it gets sent back through a tube to come back and cycle the bolt of the gun. Okay, and when it cycles the bolt, it ejects the empty case, and the next round is stripped off the magazine, goes into the chamber. Okay, so in order for that to happen, you have to have enough gas coming back this tube to cycle the bolt. Okay, but if you have too much gas, what happens is the gun is basically beating itself up. The recoil is really stiff, so it prevents you from staying on target for your shots. You have to work harder to get back on target. But what it will also start to do is it'll start ripping the cases. Okay, it may actually start tearing the cases in half, ripping the rims off. You might start seeing primers getting blown out. So that's a case of too much gas coming back into your system. So there's a fine balance between too much gas or too little gas. Okay, now the problem with 308 is that the amount of gas that they generate is all over the board. Okay, so with 308 calibers, for the most part, for the last several decades, have primarily gone into bolt action guns. Okay, so with a bolt action gun, the gun doesn't rely on the recoil in order to operate the gun, right? So you're manually working it with the bolt. Okay, so on the bolt action guns, aside from the gun not being dependent on a recoil, what's also happening is because there's no recoil spring, right? Because the recoil spring in this gun also acts as a shock absorber. Okay, so that takes away from the felt recoil. So bolt action shooters, because basically all the recoil is going straight into their body, traditionally have preferred lighter shooting 308s, right, or lighter recoiling 308s, which doesn't make sense to me. It's like because what they did is they created a demand for less powerful 308 ammunition, right? It makes a lot more sense for me is for them to go to some different caliber, okay, rather than put pressure on the manufacturers to create weaker 308s. But that's what happened, and that's where we are. Like your typical hunting ammunition, the felt recoil on that is going to be less than your military, style 7.62 by 5.1. Okay, so the 308's all over the board. Now, how far all over the board? I have here a summary of 3 different ammunitions that I was testing. So, with Freedom Munitions 150 grain, okay, I got 2832, 2,832 feet per second, okay, which comes out to an energy of 2671 foot-pounds, okay, compared to the 150 grain Tula, okay, and I'm just throwing this up there because this was among the weakest of the energies that I was able to measure. Okay, the 150 grain Tula, right, also 150 grain bullet, both of these are 150s. This had a velocity of 2409 feet per second, right? So there's a velocity difference here of 400 feet per second, or a little bit more than 400 feet per second, right? And then the energy generated by the Tula was 1933, okay? 1,933. So the difference between this Freedom Munitions at 2671 energy and this Tula at 1933 is 738 foot-pounds. That is a huge difference. Okay, a difference of 738 foot-pounds in the same caliber is basically like the difference of a 44 Magnum or like a 10 millimeter. Okay, so that's the difference that I saw between two different ammunitions. Now you might say, hey, it's just Tula, you know, maybe Tula's at the very low end and maybe Freedom Munition, maybe these are like unicorns. Well, I also looked at American Sniper, okay, American Sniper, 149 grains, okay, that came out somewhere in the middle. So that had an energy of that had a velocity of 2671 feet per second, right? So it's somewhere in the middle between those two. And that had an energy of 2371, okay, 2,371 foot-pounds. So the American Sniper was 300 foot-pounds less than the Freedom Munitions, okay, but it was 438 foot-pounds more than the Tula, okay. So even if you basically consider, let's say, American Sniper, which is like in the middle, versus Freedom Munitions, and I don't even know if that's the top, maybe they come in even higher than that, you know, there's a difference of 300 foot-pounds. 300 foot-pounds is like a 9 millimeter, okay? That's the difference between the Tula and the Freedom Munitions, a difference of 9 millimeter. And the difference between the American Sniper and the Tula, right, is a difference of 438. That's kind of like a 10 millimeter, okay, or not even, let's say a 40 cal, okay? That's a 40 cal difference. So you're talking about gigantic differences, right, in 308, gigantic energy differences. So for that reason, you need a highly adjustable gas system, okay? So one of the AR-10s that I've been following, looking at lots of reviews for, is the Ruger sfar, okay? And I'm highly interested in the Ruger sfar because, you know, this Palmetto AR-10, without the optics, so this is a 9-pound gun, right? So just the gun by itself is 9 pounds. The Ruger sfar comes in at about 7. So that's just a little bit heavier than your standard AR-15. However, the sfar only has, like, I think the original valve had 3 adjustable gas positions. I think the new one that they're putting out there has 4 adjustable positions. That's not enough. Okay, that is not enough for these type of differences. And we're not even talking about putting suppressors on these things, right? Because when you put a suppressor on this, that changes the ball game even more. Okay, we're looking at 308 without suppressors. So the Ruger sfar is extremely interesting to me. What we need is a Gen 2 that has more adjustable gas positions. All right, if Palmetto, because this Palmetto AR-10 has 3 slots per turn, so it's for a total of 17. Okay, I think that Ruger should give us 20. Okay, now there's tons of videos out there with people having problems with their Ruger sfar cycling. Okay, now the Ruger sfar is, because I got this gun. Like this gun, usually goes for about $800. Around the holidays, you can get it for $700. So that's what I paid for this, $700 in December of 2023. The way you buy it is you buy the lower separate, have that shipped to your FFL. I got that for $200, and then the upper you have that shipped to your house. This 20-inch barrel here, by the way, this is a 20-inch barrel that all those tests were done on. This 20-inch barrel over here was $500 shipped to my house. So the whole gun was like $700, you know, plus a few dollars for shipping. So let's say $730 or something. Okay? No, actually the shipping was free. The taxes, okay? So it came out to something like $730. The shipping was free if you get it over the holidays. So the other one that I've been looking at, right, because the Ruger sfar is expensive. It's somewhere like in the $1,200 range, $1,300 range. It's expensive, and the gas system is completely insufficient. Okay, for these type of variants, because these are the type of variances that you're going to see. All right, and you might say that Tula is like a unicorn here, that it's so low, but hunting ammunition is going to be in this ballpark here, maybe even lower. Because like I explained earlier, for decades, hunters have been asking for weaker 308 ammunition instead of going to some other caliber, okay? Now, the other one I've been looking at, okay, and studying is the Bear Creek. Now, Bear Creek does not have an adjustable gas system. It does not have it. Okay? And I believe the Bear Creek comes in just a little bit cheaper than this Palmetto. Okay, I think when I priced it out about the same time, it was coming in somewhere in the mid 600s. Okay, now it had a cheapo stock. It didn't have the Madpole furniture on here, and I'm always going to upgrade to the stock. So that's something to consider. Consider the stock that comes with it. Also consider the grip. Now this one has a proprietary grip. I did try the Magpole grip. It did fit, but it left a gap here, so I ended up going back to it. And I did upgrade the trigger here to a 2-stage trigger. If you're shooting distances, it makes a difference. You're going to want to upgrade to a 2-stage trigger, which is somewhere I was able to get that for, I think it was a Schmidt one from Palmetto. It was like what was it? It was like about $75 over the holidays. But as far as the Bear Creek one, okay, in the videos that I saw, it seems to be like I haven't seen any Bear Creek videos of their AR-10 where it's having cycling problems. So what that means is, in order for them to accomplish that, the gas system is most likely at the higher end. They've got it like wide open so that it will be able to cycle, you know, some of this, you know, some of the weaker ammunition out there. So what that means is that the gun is beating itself up. Or what it means is that the felt recoil is going to be a lot more. And the AR-10, right, the way I see it, this is like a DMR gun, okay? This is so that you can take multiple shots very quickly at distance, okay? So in order to be able to do that, you don't want the gun throwing you back and throwing you off the target, okay? So you want to be able to control the recoil, and the best way to do it is through the adjustable gas system. So the Bear Creek one does not have an adjustable gas system. I think that they would do a lot better to add one, right, that has like 20 adjustable positions, because I think, you know, whatever the additional cost is, it is going to be worth it. It is absolutely going to be worth it. If you get the Bear Creek one, the thing that you have to watch out for, right, or any AR-10 that does not have an adjustable gas system, is make sure your cases aren't being torn, the rims on the cases aren't being torn out, and the primers are not getting punched out, okay? So you need to, if you're shooting your AR-10, you have to look at the cases. Pick up your brass, look at it, and make sure that it's not showing signs of overpressure. Or it's not that the ammunition itself is overpressure, because the way this works is when the gun goes bang, right, bullet goes out the barrel, the case itself swells up to the chamber, okay? So the bolt, if it's too fast, it's going to start moving back, right? It's going to start moving back and trying to eject that case before the case has a chance to swell down, right? Because the case expands to the chamber, and it takes a little time, right, you know, in order for it to shrink back down. If the bolt starts trying to pull it back before it shrinks down, you're going to end up ripping the rims off, breaking your extractors, punching out your primers, you know, that kind of stuff. So that's why the timing has to be right, okay? You know, gas operated guns, they're dependent on the right timing. With AR-15s, right, we're usually able to adjust that timing with the buffer weight. Okay, we're able to put in a heavier buffer weight, or, you know, if we need to slow it down a little bit, or a lighter one if we need to speed it up. And I have seen situations where the gas port in one particular gun was basically too big, that even when I was putting in there like 5-ounce buffer weights, it was still ripping the cases. Okay, but that was kind of an anomaly. That was like, okay, in that one barrel, they drilled out the gas port too wide. Okay, the variances that we typically see in 5.56 ammunition, 2.23, is small enough, right, that it can be adjusted with the buffer weight. Okay. On the 308s, the variances are so wide that you cannot adjust it with just the buffer weight. Right? You need to be able to adjust it you need to be able to adjust the gas system itself. And actually, you can see. Let me show you guys. If you look in there, you'll see there it is. There it goes. right? You see that? That's the adjustable gas valve. So that's on this Palmetto. That's 3 slots per turn for a total of 17. Okay, and they give you a key so that you can adjust it. Okay? This is absolutely necessary for an AR-10 because of the huge variances in this 308 ammunition. Now, with this Palmetto AR-10, I'm in position number 5 out of 17, right? So the way I figured it out is I used the key and I turned it clockwise all the way down to close it off completely, okay? So there's no gas coming into coming into the bolt. So when I fired one shot, it did not eject around because there's no gas coming through. I opened it one slot, okay, and I saw it did not eject there either, right? This gas, because there just wasn't enough gas there. So that's probably the position that you would use if you had a suppressor on this. And when I shoot Tula, which is underpowered, right, at the low end, right, that's ejecting at 4 o'clock. Okay, when I shoot, right, the Tula is the one that gives us 1933 energy, so that ejects at 4 o'clock. And when I shoot the Freedom munitions, which is at the very high end of what I've tested, with an energy of 2671, so Freedom munitions ejects at like 2 o'clock. Okay, so let's say about somewhere between 1 and 2 o'clock. Let's say 1:30. Okay, so Freedom Tula is back here. Freedom munitions is up there. That is a good place for me to be because that's now going to run all the ammunition that I use. Okay, that one gas position. Okay, so again, I'm just pointing out why you have to have a highly adjustable gas system. Now, I did also, now when I tuned this gun, I tuned it with the original buffer weight and the original spring that came with the gun. Okay, that's how I tuned it. Now, I did also, and I think it came something with like, I think it was a 3.8 ounce buffer weight. I did upgrade it to the Qual Valley 5.6 ounce buffer weight. Okay, I did a separate video on that. Okay, so when I put the heavier buffer weight in this gun, right, the 5.6, okay, and I shot the gun, it basically had zero effect on my ejection pattern. Okay, Tula was still at 4 o'clock. The free munitions was still like at 2 o'clock. Okay, and the point I'm trying to make there is that the gas is so much that slight change in the buffer weight was barely, I mean, I'm sure it's there, but it was barely noticeable. Okay, barely noticeable. I could not tell a difference in the felt recoil with the slightly heavier buffer weight. I did put in the orange sprinkle spring. Okay, the orange sprinkle spring is really stiff. So when I did put the orange sprinkle stiff in there, again, I'm still ejecting Tula at 4 o'clock, and I'm still ejecting Freedom munitions at about 1 o'clock. Again, because the gas is really what's driving this gun. You cannot adjust it with the buffer weight, right, significantly. Now, when I was shooting it, though, I do feel less felt recoil, right, with the combination of the heavier buffer weight and the stiffer orange sprinkle spring. When I shoot the gun, I see that it moves less off target, and I see that the recoil into my chest is a little bit less. So there's a benefit. There's definitely a benefit of having the lighter recoil spring. Now, I did try going down from position 5 to position 4. The gun was working, but the way I test these guns is I don't just shoot them, like this. To test to see if the gun's gonna lock back reliably, I'm holding it out here like this, right? So that the gun can move around. And when I was shooting, holding this as light as possible, I saw that in position 4, the gun was not reliably locking back. So when I went up to position 5, okay, I could hold the gun in this goofy position like this, shoot this, boom, 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 and I could see that it would lock back like 100% of the time. So that's how I tuned the gun to make sure that I'm in a gas position that is going to work under all circumstances. So you need that flexibility. So I'm not telling you guys specifically to go buy a Palmetto. Okay, this is the PA-10 Gen 3. I'm telling you guys that that this is the thing you gotta look for. You have to make sure that the AR-10 has a highly adjustable gas system. And if you get one that doesn't, like let's say you buy the Bear Creek one, for example, which doesn't, you should consider, as part of your purchasing cost, upgrading that. Okay, you should consider upgrading it, because you'll be able to fine tune the gun and make it work with all sorts of 308 ammunition. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said, I've discussed all these points in different videos, but I thought that it kind of deserved to be like a headline item. Okay, so now, one of the things I've said before, you know, your AR-10 should definitely not be your first gun, okay? What you should have, like, first you should have at least like 4, maybe 5 AR-15s, right? Different barrel lengths, okay? 4 or 5 AR-15s. Get yourself like 4 or 5 AR-9s. AR-9s are great because it's cheap ammunition. You can shoot them on these steel targets up close, okay? You get like 4 or 5 Glocks, okay? Make sure they all got optics. Optics, and anything without optics is an antique at this point. And at that point, right, once you're up to about, I don't know, about 12 guns or so in your safe, at that point, I think you're at the point where you can consider an AR-10, right? Anytime you're buying a new gun, also factor in buying 2,000 rounds of ammunition just for that gun. It doesn't matter if you already got it from another caliber. The point is, this is kind of like a test to test your commitment to shooting this gun, right? Because anytime I buy another gun, right, my intention is not to shoot the other guns that I already have less. My intention is to do more overall shooting, okay? So the way I test my commitment to training with the gun is not just buying the gun, not just buying the optic, but buying an additional 2,000 rounds of ammunition just for that new gun. Okay, so my thoughts on that. Drop some comments below. Let me know what you guys think. Check the subscription, because YouTube's always unsubscribing people. And I'll talk to you all soon.